going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again, and welcome back to Lady Luck Club with Sweet Tea. We're going over some information related to Tyrone Davis Jr., his case. As promised, I told you all I would give you guys some case law where there's other cases in which the wife or the partner, being the girlfriend, has a role in the unaliving of the husband slash boyfriend over an affair. And sometimes it is someone that is well acquainted with both parties. So I have 4 cases that I'm going to show you all. I'm not going to go through all of the videos and play the videos in its entirety, but I do challenge you all to go back and check out these cases. Can be found on Law and Crime Network. There are court documents to support each of the cases, and you can get a full synopsis of what occurred in each case. You can watch the videos that I'm about to show you all. So make sure you guys go out and just kind of do a little follow-up. That way, when I go over videos and I'm saying that it's not uncommon for, you know, in the scenario with Tyrone Davis Jr., for his girlfriend to have had some, you know, affair with a friend of his or even best friend, you can now see it's not something that's so uncommon. You have other cases to refer to. You can also see how the court handled these matters, how the investigations were conducted, how they were able to go out and gather evidence, and of course, how these cases were presented to a jury. What types of criminal charges one could expect. Most of these cases, they're all either, you know, murder or at least aggravated assault or murder in the second degree. You know, of course, a couple of these involve a murder for hire. So these cases have, you know, similar pattern of charges that you can even look at to kind of determine what could be expected if there is sufficient evidence for the girlfriend to be charged, because she played a role in the unaliving of Tyrone Jr. That's what case law does. It gives you a roadmap to show you what has happened in other cases and in other scenarios. So, this first case here, this young man was an Army sergeant. His name is Tyrone Hassel III. He was married. Of course, he went to the military. He was very young to have been promoted to an Army sergeant. And the young lady he met in the Army, he married, they had a kid, they had one son, and she ended up getting involved with another active duty member, another young man on the military base. And he, you know, concocted this plan. And of course, he was the kind of the one that spearheaded the plan to unalive this young man here, because he wanted to be with the young lady. So I'm going to play a portion of this. This is on Law and Crime Network YouTube channel. You guys can go check them out. They, of course, you know, are infamous for making great content dealing with these, you know, cases to keep the public up to date on what's going on. So let's check out just a little bit of this so you guys can get just a taste of what's happening here, and you can understand why it would not be unusual for the girlfriend to be involved with the best friend, and then they concoct some plan to take out someone if they really wanted to.
Life of a young man who had worked so hard to make it out.
In the city of Ben Harbor, there's trouble everywhere you go.
This is his father.
Trouble will find you. He stayed.
So far, you see a young man that has made a life for himself. He went to college, went to the military, had lots of friends, you know, was very outgoing and personable. And he meets this young lady named Kamaya. They get married, they had a child, and they end up getting deployed to 2 different areas. And of course, she gets lonely, and she ends up meeting someone else in the military, and she starts an affair with the young man. So what you're going to see next is how this other person comes into the picture.
There was an anonymous.
Now you see this connection being made. He knew who the killer was. They all served in the military together. They all stayed in the same barracks. They were all stationed in Korea. Now do you all understand why I keep saying that it's to say that this Jason fellow who is one of many, many friends to Tyrone Jr. Ironically, same name as this young man here, Tyrone. To say that it could not have ever possibly had something going on with the girlfriend, it is absolutely naive. And you see the same scenario playing out in this case here. This is what I have been saying in several videos. Don't put it past any of his friends as if they could not have been involved with the girlfriend or in some plan to unalive or even just to harm Tyrone Jr. And in this case, this young man's name was Tyrone Hassel III. So we'll call him Tyrone III. Tyrone III had some words exchanged with the person who took his life, because they all served in the military together. And to say that, it's so unexpected for, his fellow, active duty member in the Army, their brothers in arms, there's no way. That would be naive. If the investigators, completely shut down the idea, no way is somebody that's in the military with them. No way. It's just no way. It would be an unsolved murder. You can't be narrow-minded when it comes to whom the investigators, the detectives are looking at when it comes to a suspect. This is a prime example of you have to let the evidence take you where it carries you. This is it right here. This is a clear case that is so similar. Even the same victims' names are the same. Where it's so similar with the details and the way the setup has been done. In this matter, they were married and had a child, but with Tyrone Jr., the girlfriend, they had been together for many years. And just for these cases to be that similar ironically, with both victims having the same first name, it's just ironic. But it's naive to say that this could never happen. So let's move forward.
There are here. The only thing is that the funeral is tomorrow. You guys should look at the
Dark secrets.
There were 2 Army specialists that came forward in Fort Stewart to their criminal investigation divisions
These
and
people are in the
began to
Army.
give a statement about what took place.
One of them revealing that Sergeant Hassel had learned his wife Kamaya was indeed having an affair with another soldier.
You
There you
said
go.
Hassel didn't know there was something going on between the two of them. Yeah, that was recorded. Okay.
The other soldier allegedly having the affair with the victim's wife was identified as specialist Jeremy Cuellar, known as Quay.
So this is the person that the wife was having the affair with. This is the man that, spearheaded the plan to unalive him. And he took Tyrone Hassel's III's life right in front of his house, right outside of his door, next to his truck. So this definitely is a case worth looking into. I encourage you all to look at this. It's on Law and Crime Network. Let's get to the next one. So you have this couple here where you have the wife, yet again, because I said I would give you all some cases where the wife is the one charged with, unaliving their husband or, partner because of some secret affair, oftentimes with persons that the husband or the boyfriend knows. In this matter, she set up her husband to be unalived while they were out walking the dog. So it's like a drive-by almost. And this case can be seen on Law and Crime Network as well. Shout out to them. And you can actually see there's some home surveillance camera footage that captures what occurred. You see the car drive off, and he's left lying out in the street. And then she calls 911, goes through the usual rhetoric to give off this impression. Oh, I don't know what's going on. It was just so unusual and almost well-timed. She planned this because she was having an affair. She had met someone. She wanted to be with that person. And he was willing, the man she was having the affair with, was willing to come miles away to set up this scenario where it looked like a drive-by while they're out walking their dog in a quiet neighborhood. No altercation, no interaction, none of that. Just random drive-by, someone pulls out a weapon, analyze them while they're out walking the dog. Make that make sense. You see how criminals are stupid. Let's not forget that. Criminals are very dumb. But criminals who claim to be in love are even dumber. when there's an affair involved, sometimes they will go through great lengths to keep people from finding out they're having an affair, as opposed to just putting it out there, okay, yeah, we had an affair, and then you break up the person and leave them alone and let them go on and move on with their life. But see, narcissists don't move that way. Narcissists want to be in control. Narcissists want to have the upper hand. Narcissists will never admit they're wrong. Narcissists have the inability to apologize. Narcissists will always point the finger at someone else. And what does this wife do? She tries to blame her husband for her affair and for this plan that she went along with of having him unalived while walking the dog. Now you have the dog traumatized. It's just cruel and unusual. But these scenarios happen. This is just another case for you all to see that a wife or the girlfriend is very capable of concocting some plan to unalive their husband or partner because of an affair or because of money in an affair. They want out and it just won't get out of the relationship. This is, for a narcissist, the only way they think they can just do it, and then they try to play the victim. Everything's an attack on them. You know, the same things that Tyrone Jr.'s girlfriend keeps saying all over posts and videos. Oh, I'm such the victim. Everybody's attacking me on the internet and blah, blah, blah. Girl, kick rocks. So expect her to say those things, to continue to decry, I'm the victim, woe is me. Never mind the fact that a man has lost his life and left behind 2 minor children. Nope, the girlfriend wants to decry the victim and she wants all the attention because she's a narcissist. You can't make this up. Lulu, you're a narcissist. This is case number 2. I have 2 more to show you all. This is something else.
Fabio Sementilli, 49, was a celebrity hairstylist with a high-profile clientele. He and his wife of 20 years, Monica, lived a glamorous life in an affluent suburb of Tinseltown. In their luxurious house, complete with a pool and a Porsche parked in the driveway, they seemed to be living a fairy tale existence.
Oh, here you have a case where you have Sementilli, the wife, who unalives the husband. Guess over what? Money. Comes down to money. Because money. As you can see, he was, very high profile and affluent, and he was a designer. He had all these nice cars, nice home, money. But let's keep listening, because here's another case. This is case number 3. You guys can check out Law and Crime Network once again to watch the full video and get all full context of it. But that's what the bulk of it comes down to. A wife of 20 years unallows her spouse with the motivation and the intent of it being on money and an affair. Go figure. Let's find out what happened.
He'd previously been a staff sergeant in the Army, but was discharged as a result of this conviction. Since getting out on parole, he spent his time teaching LA's affluent population, including many celebrities, sports. He himself was living a very different life, sharing a house with a roommate and barely making ends meet. To this end, he also spent his time acting in adult films.
So here's the guy that the wife, wanted to step out and have a whole affair with. A man who was teaching fitness and was doing adult films, that had been charged and had to register as an ex-offender because he had been doing some horrible things to his stepdaughter. And you see how his life greatly varies from what the husband was able to give the wife financially. You got the husband living in this nice home, able to give her whatever financially. And then she goes and she has an affair with the guy at LA Fitness that's living in, an apartment with a roommate, and had been discharged from the military because of his conviction of ex-offender for messing with a stepdaughter. And this is the person that she wanted to be with, that aided in a plan to unalive the husband for money. And as you can see, dumb criminals do dumb things. Like, you can't make this up. So you guys are starting to see this pattern here where you have the wives or the girlfriends that are the ones spearheading or either going along with these plans to unalive their partners or their husbands because of an affair, because of money. These being the main 2 motivators. And then they play the victim because they believe that they're going to get away with it, when they're not smart enough to simply just walk away and leave that person alone. No one has the right or the authority to take a life. You don't want to be with the person? Let him go and leave him alone. I mean, Lulu could have just walked away and left Tyrone Jr. alone and let him be with his kids for Christmas. But yet, she wants to sit here and pretend as if she hit him with a car and the only injury he incurred was to the back of the head. And wants people to actually believe that. Now, I have a video for that as well, so you all can understand why that is a bunch of horse shit. So let's keep going with this here. Let's keep going.
Monica liked to take advantage of this. The family went on many exotic vacations to places like Hawaii, Cabo, and St. Thomas. These trips were rewards as part of Fabio's work, one of the many perks that he gave the family.
For me, my family comes first.
Monica was just along for the ride. But is there such a
'cause
thing
it's
as
always
too
like
much luxury? They say that money doesn't buy happiness. For Monica, maybe this was the case. She grew dissatisfied with her life with Fabio, despite all its opulent advantages. In 2015, she joined the racquetball league at LA Fitness in Canoga Park. She wanted to get in shape and meet new people, and she hired a personal trainer, a man named Matt Nurse. But Matt wasn't just a trainer to her. She downloaded pictures from his social media accounts
Yeah,
and
you
wound
know,
up
because
asking
she
him out for
didn't have a
drinks.
job.
Matt turned her down, but she confided in him anyway.
She would talk about her kids, and then she told me she was unhappy in her marriage. She thought he was cheating on her. She said, why don't you just get a divorce?
And what did she say to you?
Why throw away 20 years?
Why throw
Yeah, what, throw away 20 years? No, because he's got the money. Y'all understanding how this picture is unfolding now? The man had a bunch of money after 20 years. She claims she's unhappy, he's cheating on her, blah, blah, blah. And then she still chooses to be with him because money. But as opposed to her leaving, she finally gets up and hooks up with her boo-boo, who was willing to follow through on a plan to unalive the husband. And for what? When she could have just left. This is just one of these many cases here. This is on Law and Crime Network. Make sure you guys go check out and watch the full episode. I can guarantee you this story is, it's going to make you mad. I'm just telling you all that right now. But you'll understand, you know, some of the historical precedence has been set with these types of cases where you have these miserable wives that are, in this scenario, she's been well taken care of. Plenty of money, didn't have a job. You know, one thing we all wondering about, you know, Lulu in this situation, Kiera. Does she have a job? I mean, she's going to have to get one now. But was she working? You know? And let's say they ended up getting married, her and Tyrone Jr. She wouldn't have had to work. She would have had basically everything she needed. Financially, she would have been set and comfortable. Financially. But as you all can see, someone of 20 years of marriage with a man who had millions and millions of dollars and were constantly traveling and going to exotic places still wasn't happy. So just keep that in mind. Let's move on to the next one.
The wife accused of orchestrating a murder for hire plot that ended in the brutal stabbing death of her own husband, Bo, last year. She has officially been convicted out in Angola. This crime may have happened in Africa,
This
but it has
didn't
made
even happen in the
international
US.
news. We are going to talk about the evidence, the plot, the sentences, the players, and more with an attorney and former CIA officer. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse.
Y'all check out Law and Crime Network. Let me tell you something. This unaliving occurred in a whole another country, in another continent. But it gained so much notoriety because he was a pastor. And she participated in the unaliving of her own husband. I mean, just when you thought, man, this is something else. The unaliving. In a whole nother country, and for what? Can't make this stuff up. Just another case right here.
I've been noticing a trend with murder for hire plots, right?
Me
In a way, you
too.
would think
It's
if
the
you're going to
whole
outsource
trend
it,
of this.
less of a connective tissue to the mastermind, the person orchestrating.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the case. It's not from what I've seen here. It feels to me that when you have murder for hire plots, there's some of the most sloppy crimes that are
Yes,
committed.
they
have
are.
such a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to all the people. Even if you look at something here, the murder weapon, like you mentioned, a gift from her, the money, okay, from her, she's at the scene, the affair. Am I wrong in saying there are aspects of
because she was having an affair as well. So when you think about this, why would it be implausible for there to be a third person involved in the unaliving of Tyrone Jr.? Kiera, you're not that smart. You're not that smart. There's oftentimes a pattern that if you understand how these investigations work, you can follow. But because you don't understand that, there is something along this path in this investigation where it's going to just be smack dab in everybody else's face at some point. Because you have slipped up. You've slipped up massively. And it's going to be so obvious to everyone else how bad you messed up. Sloppiness is the word. This woman took her own husband's life in another country. And she was so sloppy about it. This case got international attention. And because the husband was a pastor, it just makes it even worse. And there's a secret affair. Murder for hire. She paid somebody some money. Kiara, do you plan on giving back that $250,000 plus that you allegedly took out of this account? How about provide evidence that you did not take it? You did not have access to this account. We would love to see that. Yeah, it's the one thing they haven't denied yet, full out. You can't make this stuff up. Always some money involved in this. Somebody got paid to do something. Even if the spouse, the wife, paid these boyfriends on the side to put gas in their car and buy supplies. There was some financial benefit to it. And yet again, you have another scenario where this sloppy nonsense has been done as opposed to her just leaving him and letting him be. She takes his life. You can't make this stuff up. It's wicked on so many levels.
I want him gone, and it becomes gone at what? Any price? Where you're not thinking it through, you're not doing. Not that I'm telling people how to do this, but I have to say that my experience, not just as a prosecutor dealing with cases like this, but trying just countless numbers of cases, including murders, and how they play out and how they get caught. This isn't something that people like this think about. And I can even go back to my time in the federal government, now how things are done internationally. This is not how you do it. And yet at the same time, at least what we appear to be seeing here is justice, in that what you finally have is a relatively a relatively clean prosecution and conviction of those involved. She ends up serving 24 years. Those other 3 men that she hires for the cost of $50,000, they're going to serve between 21, 22 years. And so that's interesting.
Yeah, 50 grand. $250,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Yeah, you can split that down the middle and then you still have enough. 6 figures still left over. $125K left. This is the whole point I've been making here. 4 cases I've just showed you all. All where the women, the wives, the girlfriends had their husbands unalived because there's some affair going on and something involving money. And the people that they are having these affairs with most often know the husband. Even in one scenario was the trainer. In the last case we just looked at, was the trainer, the fitness trainer. Knew the husband well. Was invited to go to the memorial service. The wife, in the last case we looked at, with the wealthy husband, actually invited the man she was having the affair with that aided in the unaliving to come to the funeral and memorial service. You can't make that up. You guys take a look at that full video. It'll blow your mind. You'll be like, I cannot believe the audacity of someone to do this. Yeah, she did it. She invited the boyfriend that aided in the unaliving to come to the husband's funeral service memorial. You can't. Come on now. How much of a slap in the face is that? And do you think she lost any sleep that night? Nope. So let's go on to the next video where I just, you guys have to see what I've been talking about how car accidents and a car hitting a human is going to affect the human body. So let's get to it. Yeah, I know, it looks cartoonish. Whatever. Find a better video and send it to me. LadyLuckClubLLC@yahoo.com. Here's a video that plays out about how an impact from being hit with a vehicle plays out on the human body. So that people can understand Tyrone Jr. being hit with a car and the only injury that we all know of so far, because, Kiara won't tell us the other injuries. The only injury we know of to the back of his head is implausible based on him being hit with a vehicle. There has to be other injuries. But since she won't divulge the other injuries, for some reason, I guess she thinks that's a hidden secret. Why would that be a secret? If we all know that he had the injury to the back of the head, why not disclose the other injuries to where it would make sense to line up with him being hit with a car that's not yours? I mean, I'm just saying, make it make sense. So let's check this out. Shout out to Life Noggin. They just did, a quick Lego looking simulation of this. getting hit by a car at different speeds. Let's check this out.
This whole getting hit at different speeds a bit more. And don't forget,
Sis Kiera, you got a bachelor's of science in something. Truly, you understand how physics work. The mass of an object going at a certain speed is going to deliver a certain amount of energy. I hope you remembered that you learned that in school. So when you say that he was hit by a car, it has to physiologically and scientifically and logistically line up. Since you're an idiot, I'll be the one to make sure people understand how this works from a physics stance. So as he said, you have a car at various speeds. The more the mass, or the bigger the object is, going at a faster speed, the more energy coming towards an individual. See, in a car-to-car collision, you have one car that makes impact with the other car, but the other car is designed and able to take some of the energy, the impact of that, the energy of the impact itself. With a human being, the actual human body is having to absorb the energy of this impact with a 2-ton vehicle. Most cars are at least 2 tons. And our bodies were not designed to do that. Our bodies were not designed and created to sustain the impact, the amount of energy and force coming at us from a 2-ton vehicle, especially going at, even if it's 25 miles per hour. Ironic how they bring this up in this video. Let's get to it. Just want you all to see this.
per hour for a pedestrian to have a 50% chance of sustaining a severe injury, and 46 miles per hour for...
Okay, 30 miles per hour. What was she saying that she was going at 25 miles per hour? 25 miles per hour. And somehow, the only injury is to the back of the head that ended up being fatal. Yeah, do you understand why I keep saying logistically that didn't line up? Okay.
A 90% chance. For a hit to be fatal, vehicles only need to be traveling slightly faster. At 42 miles per hour, there is a 50% chance of a pedestrian being killed by the impact, and a 90% chance at 58 miles per hour. The pedestrian's age also plays a big factor in the seriousness.
40 miles per hour if you want it to be fatal. Kiera said 25 miles per hour? And the injury he got to the back of the head only and no other part of the body? Make that make sense. Because physics, science, that's how this works. This is what has been statistically proven with data. Y'all see this right here?
1 miles per hour for a pedestrian to have a 50% chance of sustaining a severe injury, and 46 miles per hour for a 90% chance. For a hit to be fatal, vehicles only need to be traveling slightly faster. At 42 miles per hour,
42.
there is a 50% chance of a pedestrian being killed by the impact, and a 90% chance at 58 miles per hour. The pedestrian's age also plays a big factor in the seriousness of their injuries. For example, a 70-year-old hit by a car traveling at 25 miles per hour has a similar chance of injury as a 30-year-old hit at 35 miles per hour. What body parts are struck?
So she said 25 miles per hour, and Tyrone Jr. was 36 years old. Where's that Minister Messi that said that the only way he sustained that injury is by being hit with the car? Yeah, because science goes over her head as well. You can't make this stuff up. This is what happens when you get out on social media and then you do videos where you have no knowledge of how these things operate, of how something like this could play out with a vehicle hitting a human body at 25 miles per hour. And the only injury you're saying, Kiera, and to Minister Messi, that Tyrone Jr. sustained was to the back of the head, where it looked like blunt force trauma. Blunt force trauma, severe enough to cause skull fractures from the back of the head to come to the front of the head. But no other part of the body was injured. Yeah, because neither of them paid attention in physics class. I highly doubt Minister Messi even got to physics class. Like, what was the highest grade she took? This is just a matter of Google. And he failed to do that, but they put out videos and now they want to play the victim when they get backlash. Can't make this up.
And injured has to do with the mechanics of the impact. The collision can be broken into 3 phases, all of which are a chance for injury. They are the initial strike of the vehicle, the trajectory off of the vehicle, and landing on the ground. First, the pedestrian...
3 phases. The initial strike of the vehicle. Let's go back. Trajectory and landing. Because let's not forget, 25 miles per hour for a 36-year-old male. No other
They are
injuries.
the initial strike of the vehicle, the trajectory off of the vehicle, and landing on the ground. First, the pedestrian's legs are hit by the bumper and rapidly accelerate while their torso remains relatively still. This is why these impacts most often injure the lower extremities, often causing the pelvis, knee, or fibula to break. As the vehicle keeps moving forward, their body wraps around the bumper and hood until their head hits the vehicle, which is where one of the most severe and second most common injuries occur. Finally, depending on...
So how exactly did he get hit by a car and only had an injury to the back of the head? What? Was it the front of the car? Was it on the passenger side front? Or the driver front side of the vehicle? Was it the rear? Did you somehow bump him on the side door when he was trying to get out? Like, how did that occur? Why can't Kiera express how the accident actually occurred? And in detail say what part of the vehicle hit what part of his body? And how do you explain away no other injuries except the back of the head? A very specific spot on the back of the head at that. You're not saying back of head plus neck and upper spine area. No. Or lower spine plus, a shattered tibia. No, none of that. None of that. Just the back of the head. When you see how this is going in this simulation here, even if you're getting out of a car, how would he possibly get hit getting out the side of the car and only incur an injury to the back of the head? How did she hit him with that car? How did that accident go? I mean, you can't make this up.
What the driver does, the pedestrian could be projected in front of the vehicle if the driver brakes, be vaulted over the roof if they don't, or be vaulted over the side if the driver turns. If the vehicle is tall and the bumper is higher than the pedestrian's center of gravity, they could be knocked down or run over. Over the years, changes in vehicle design made by car manufacturers have led to less injuries.
But see, what I expect to still see is something involving a broken leg, hip, pelvic, thigh bone, something.
Bumper and rapidly accelerate while their torso remains relatively still. This is why these impacts most often pedestrian's center of gravity.
Did the driver brake? Because I'm just going on the allegation that he was hit by a car. Did that driver happen to brake? Did they turn? Did they swerve? What happened? How did that go? See, the fact that, this dumb girlfriend put it in a post alluding to, people get upset and, don't act as if none of you have never hit somebody with a car. Are you kidding me? Anyone that has done that should be in jail. Jail, you dumb idiot. In jail. You should not have your freedom right now. You should be incarcerated. Look at the damage you're doing to the human body hitting a person with a car. And depending on whether you turn, swerve, or stop, that's going to affect the landing plus the trajectory of the human body. See, I want this to be hammered in so you all can understand. This is on Life Noggin website, YouTube channel. Getting hit by a car at different speeds is the video you should look for. It's quick, but it's very insightful. And it helps to explain the logistics and the physics behind someone getting hit by a car. Because,
they could be knocked down or run over. Over the years, changes in vehicle design the mechanics of the impact. The collision can be broken into 3 phases, all of which are a chance for injury. They are the initial strike of the vehicle, the trajectory off of the vehicle, and landing on the ground. First, the pedestrian's legs are hit by the bumper and rapidly accelerate while their torso remains relatively still. This is why these impacts side if the driver turns.
So if the car did not brake, he should have rolled over the vehicle, right? Because see, you can't hit just the head and then you don't injure the rest of the body. At the very least, the torso. Was he on his knees? How do you have an accident where there's no broken bones or pelvic areas shattered? None of that. And yet, only the injury to the back of the head. Not front, side, no cuts, no bruises, no scrapes, nothing else? Nothing else? You understand now why I keep saying logistically it doesn't line up? Because, science is something else. It can help you understand why when someone decides to be a dumbass criminal and lie like hell, they should not be getting away with it. Kiera, if you're going to put up posts about somebody, having arguments and hitting people with cars, you can at least in detail explain how, if you claim you hit Tyrone Jr. with the car, how that happened. And it's my understanding she was driving an SUV. That would have been even worse. You're talking about a bigger vehicle with more mass, heavier. You're going 25 miles per hour. and you have a vehicle that could easily overpower a human body, and you said the only injury is to the back of the head. You won't tell us the other injuries, though. So we're going to continue to do this until you disclose all that information. Can't make this
If
up.
the vehicle is tall and the bumper is higher than the pedestrian's center of gravity, they could be knocked down or run over.
Oh
Over
my
the
God.
years, changes in vehicle design made by car manufacturers have led to less injuries to pedestrians. One study performed in France found that cars produced in the 90s caused less lesions and fractures compared to cars made in the 70s. They attributed this to the newer car's profile and windshield design that reduced the severity of the impact. Going forward, as we design cars of the future,
Yeah,
we can
so
hope
even with that, how do you explain the only injury being to the back of the head? God. Did he hit his head on the windshield? How did this go? Did he roll over on the car? Did he land on the side of the car? How was he hit by the car again? You know, good grief. You can't make this stuff up.
Continue to keep public safety in mind and help to decrease the number of pedestrian fatalities. So my question to you is, have you ever been in a car accident? If you're comfortable with sharing your story, let me know in the comments.
Is someone else in the car? No, it's just you?
Yeah, okay. Try to pay attention to this. So if y'all just saw that windshield is a result of someone actually being hit by a car and that body making impact with the windshield. So since I wanted to give you guys the, animated version of what happens to the human body, here's an actual case where a woman hit a man, the girlfriend hit the boyfriend with her car. Yeah, just check this out on, what's this, Karma Cam YouTube channel. Karma Cam YouTube channel. Jealous ex-girlfriend runs over man after he's moved on. Because reasons this happens. Here's a whole case where someone was hit by a car. And you all can see the damage to the car so far. Once again, what car hit Tyrone Jr.? Was that car processed? Were the images of this car accident? Because Gainesville Police Department cannot be that sloppy to not even disclose the fact that they may have processed a car if a car hit a human being. And then the driver goes and flees from the scene. So we're talking about a hit and run. What is this being investigated as? Because so far it's not being investigated as a homicide. Why is it not being investigated as a hit and run? You mean to tell me that the driver of another car is still a free individual after hitting a human being? Because that landed in a 911 call. Make that make sense?
Okay, so what's going on?
She hit him with his car, with her car. This is him right here. You can remember right now.
Oh.
So, he basically just cheated. He messed with another girl. But the other girl, he's in front of his house.
You got a cut, bro? Let me see.
Y'all see what happens when you get hit by a car.
So force at me. I didn't know what to do, so I just jumped.
Start loads.
And who knows how fast that she was going. Y'all see how his arms is bruised up and all of that. I mean, these are injuries that could be explained based on the impact of the car, based on how fast she was going, and what part of the vehicle she hit him with looks like the driver's side of the car, because that's where a lot of the impact to the windshield is done. You see how these injuries can correlate to the actual incident itself. Explain Tyrone Jr.'s incident, the injury, to the incident of him being hit with a car. And the only injury is to the back of the head. Severely at that. But no broken legs or arms. No scuff marks, no scratches, no bruises, no nothing. Wasn't bloody or anything anywhere else. This is why the injuries that he incurred needs to be relayed. I'm not asking for all the diagnosis or any of that. They don't even have to put up his medical records or anything, because that's a violation of HIPAA privacy. Just explain some of these injuries to make it make sense with a car accident or car hitting him. Because right now, it's not lining up.
The car isn't registered.
Y'all can see this.
Can you have EMS responding to the church here? Got a subject that just...
He's walking because she wasn't going that fast. And as you can see, a lot of the car damage is to the edge, the driver edge, front. And he had more of the injury made from the windshield. But you guys can watch this entire video here. This is something else.
Multiple lacerations to his arm.
Multiple lacerations to the arm.
I have nowhere to put it, so I have to take it there.
Front, so y'all see this side here? It matches with the windshield.
Alright, so did you see her hit him?
Did I see her hit him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm trying to figure it out. My boy's bloody, got hit by a car, so.
Yeah, bro, basically, domestic stuff, she can't. They, like, she's trying to take his car, like, hit it, like, damage and everything. Like, I
This
parked
is
it somewhere else just in
ridiculous.
case, so I try to leave. Then I see.
And you guys can see it's mostly to the left side. Or this is, that's his right arm. So, yeah. His right arm. And it matches the damage that you see in the beginning along the windshield. And I'm trying to make sure you guys see that right here.
Okay, so what's going on?
Let's go back. So the young man had a weapon on him. He went and unloaded it. And
There's someone else in the car?
Nah.
That was just you?
so you all can see that. The damage there. Look at that. Right there. See how that makes sense with the type of injury he incurred? To that arm? To the right arm? So it gives the police a better idea of how that impact was done. And based on the speed at which she was traveling, you see the amount of damage that was done to his arm. You see the damage that was done to the windshield. How do you explain someone being hit with a vehicle and the only damage is to the back of the head? No other bruises or injuries or fractures or breaks or anything at all? Come on now. So this is the last video I'm going to show. This is from Untold Tales YouTube channel. Untold Tales YouTube channel, where they're giving updates based on the 911 call and the different stories that have been told so far based on the 911 calls and based on what was given to the people that made the calls from the witnesses as well. So situations like this is why traffic cam footage is vital. I don't know why the police would lie about when a traffic cam is triggered, but this is why it's crucial to have it. But let's take a look at this. Shout out to them putting this together, because this is definitely going to help you all understand when you have too many stories and versions of something being told, it makes the person less credible. And yet Kiera wants to walk around here mad because no one believes him.
December 27th, 2025, Gainesville, Florida. A man lies dying in the road beneath a highway overpass, and the story of how he got there is about to change 4 times. I'm about to play you the 911 audio from the night Tyrone Davis Jr. was found dying in the road. And in this one recording, you're going to hear 4 completely different stories about what happened.
We received multiple calls reference to vehicle versus pedestrian. The male subject is awake but not alert.
3 vehicle versus pedestrian, 4100 Southwest Archer Road, 4100 Southwest Archer Road, the area of the underpass. We have law enforcement responding with us. Caller passing by advising male patient injured after being hit by a sedan. Sedan versus male patient. Patient's on the ground.
Story 1, he was hit by a sedan. Story 2, he fell out of a moving vehicle. Story 3, he got out of the car and walked away. Story 4, he slipped and fell. 4 stories. 1 dead man. Someone is lying. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly who. Before we dissect the lies, you need to understand who we lost. Because Tyrone Davis Jr. wasn't just a case number. He was a father, a trucker, a man who woke up every single day with one mission: to motivate others. They called him Dro. They called him T2. Every morning, without fail, he posted motivational content for his followers. His catchphrase, "You feel me." His father, Tyrone Davis Sr., said it best. He didn't deserve this.
He didn't deserve this, you know. All I really want, you know, is answers to what belongs to me, you know. You know, I'm not asking for, you know, no GoFundMes, no money, no nothing. I just want candles, you know, and prayers and answers.
Tyrone was not the kind of man to do anything reckless. He was not the kind of man to jump out of a moving car. His cousin Natalie Davis described him as a man of routine, love, and hard work. She said he was robbed of his dreams and his children's future in a way that feels cold and calculated. December 2025 was supposed to be special. Tyrone had planned something romantic. A Christmas getaway with his girlfriend. A cabin. Quality time. The
I don't
holidays.
understand this.
But Tyrone Davis Jr.
her like
would never
that,
see
like
Christmas
around
morning.
in a restaurant.
The plan
Like,
was
come on,
simple.
dude.
A romantic Christmas getaway at a cabin. Tyrone and his girlfriend, Kiara, known as Lulu, were supposed to spend the holidays together. December 25th through the 27th, just the 2 of them. But something went wrong. And by December 27th, instead of being at a cabin, Tyrone was lying under a highway overpass with severe blunt force trauma to the back of his head. The family would later learn critical details that didn't add up. Lulu was driving the wrong direction, away from the cabin. The incident happened at approximately 5:47 p.m.
Now, I hope you all saw that. From where she claims she turned at this gas station. You can see what's going on at the bypass if she would at least have stepped out of the car and was facing it.
To the back of his head. The family would later learn critical details that didn't add up. Lulu was driving the wrong direction, away from the cabin.
That's the Circle K.
The incident happened.
And you guys can see right there at the bypass. So if she's at the Circle K and she's facing the bypass, she would have been able to see and hear him get hit with a car. And as you all can see, like, street lights, cameras, they serve more than one purpose. So the idea that they only activate when someone runs a red light is a flat out lie from the pit of hell. And Gainesville Police Department should return that lie to sender. You can't make this up. So here you are at the Circle K. This is based on Google Maps, which street cameras help to get that footage, these images, to upload. And you can look at the bypass over there. I don't think it would be very difficult if you were looking. I could see this in the video very plain and simple. If you're standing there in person and you're looking at the bypass, especially if somebody tried to get out of a car with food in their hands, so they're already obstructed with their hands full with a pizza and wings, and they're walking. Naturally, I'm not gonna let anybody out of a moving car. But if they get out, they sneak out. You're not going to make it all the way up past a Burger King. She passed at least 2 different restaurants here where she could have turned in and pulled over. No. Let's keep going till you get to a Circle K. And she didn't take time to get out and look back to see what was going on. She just turned into the Circle K and wasn't facing the bypass at all and just kind of sat somewhere. Where did she park? This makes no sense. If you're looking at it, you can see what's happening. You don't need to wonder what's happening. You can see it for yourself. And I said this in a previous video. So why is she pretending like she could not see what was going on if she's standing there or parked at the Circle K and you concerned about someone's safety? You concerned about y'all having an argument. He jumped out of a car, allegedly. And then you pull up to the Circle K. You pass by Burger King. You pass by all these other places you could have turned into, but whatever. You pass by all this stuff and you turn into the Circle K. You don't turn around and park to where you can at least pull over and then get out and walk and see what's going on. Or at least see what's happening. At least watch to see him walking towards you. Make this make sense. My whole question was, why didn't they just go home? If they have an argument at the cabins and all of that, why? Okay, we packing up the cars. We going home. We all going home. Everybody going home. Why not just go home? 3-hour drive. Go home. This is crazy.
Approximately 5:47 p.m. Tyrone was found under a bridge, not on a main road, and Lulu was not with him when he was found. According to the family's petition, Tyrone planned a romantic Christmas getaway at a cabin. However, instead of a holiday celebration, Tyrone ended up under a bridge with severe blunt force trauma to the back of his head. The question isn't just what happened to Tyrone. The question is, why do the stories keep changing? And to answer that question, we need to go back to the moment it all started.
Where it doesn't
the
make
9/11
sense.
Call, 5:47 p.m., December 27th, 2025. The first 911 call comes in. Listen to what the dispatcher says.
Engine 9CC3, vehicle versus pedestrian, 4100 Southwest Archer Road, 4100 Southwest Archer Road, the area of the underpass. We have law enforcement responding with us, caller passing by advising male patient injured after being hit by a sedan. Sedan versus male patient.
Vehicle versus pedestrian. Caller passing by advising a male patient injured after being hit by a sedan. Sedan versus male patient. Patients on the ground. Stop. Let's break this down. The first person to call 911, a witness passing by, reported that Tyrone was hit by a car. Not that he fell.
A witness. So let's start with this. Because, I've seen the videos where, and we've gone over one where the friends are sitting here attacking content creators and YouTubers for creating storylines. We don't need to do that when there are 911 calls. You understand how dumb that is to say, you got all these people out here on YouTube and they're just coming up with these storylines. What storylines? The storylines we're hearing in 911 calls? You do understand that these 4 versions of what happened are coming through these 911 calls from witnesses. All that we're doing here on YouTube is repeating that and trying to make sense of it. Like playing videos of what an impact does to the human body from a vehicle. In other cases where it is not, unthinkable for the girlfriend to have an affair with the best friend and to be involved in some plot to unalive the boyfriend or the husband for money and for an affair. You know, because that kind of could solidify realistically what could have happened and transpired here with case law, with precedents, science, physics, documentation, and evidence. These are the stories coming in from the 911 calls. I don't think anyone wants to just create something off the top of their head, especially when it cannot be substantiated. These 4 versions, so far we're hearing the first one, came from a witness that called 911. So who are you really upset with? I don't think it's the internet that's your issue here. YouTubers are not your enemy here. This first version we're hearing came from a witness from the 911 call. Doesn't seem like it was the actual couple that got out of the car to help them that was the nurse. This sounds like a totally different witness. Maybe you should find out who this witness is. But how do you go and get upset with someone for calling 911 saying, this is what I just saw on witness? Unless you can prove they were intentionally lying. We're just listening and repeating what's being said from the 911 call. At least that's what I'm doing. I don't have to concoct a theory up something like this. That's not how I report information. That's unnecessary to me. I don't have the imagination to concoct up the unaliving of someone. Your gripe is not with YouTubers. These versions that you're hearing are coming from the 911 calls. Start with that.
Not that he jumped, not that he slipped, hit by a sedan. This is the original report.
Hit and run.
This is what someone saw before anyone had time to create a narrative, before anyone had time to coordinate a story. This is story number 1, hit by a sedan. The source is the 911 caller, a witness passing by.
Thank you.
The implication is that a vehicle
not a
struck
YouTuber.
Tyrone. This would be a possible hit and run. If this witness is telling the truth, then someone hit Tyrone with their car. Someone hit him. And that someone either fled the scene or was already there. But within minutes, the story was about to change. Minutes after the initial call, the dispatch updates the incident. Listen carefully to what changes.
You guys update this to a trauma alert reference. Subject fell out of a moving vehicle with loss of consciousness.
The dispatcher says, update this to a trauma alert reference. Subject fell out of a moving vehicle with loss of consciousness. Wait, did you catch that? The story just changed. The first caller said hit by a sedan. Now dispatch is saying he fell out of a moving vehicle. These are not the same thing. Story 1 says he was hit by a sedan. That's an external force. A vehicle strikes a pedestrian. Someone else is responsible. Yep. Story 2 says he fell out of a moving vehicle. That's self-inflicted. He fell or jumped from a car. He is responsible for his own injury. Being hit by a car makes you a victim. Falling out of a car makes it your fault. 2 completely different narratives. 2 completely different implications. Where did this new story come from? Who told...
See, and here's the thing. Once again, that's not coming from a YouTuber. Even if he fell out of a moving car, what if he was unconscious? What if there was a third person in the car that opened the passenger door and allowed him to fall out of it and he was already unconscious? Because how else do you explain someone falling out of a car with food in their lap? I mean, you know, criminals are so dumb. How ridiculous is it to have food in their hands? If you open in the door, this person is unconscious, you just want them to fall out of a car. If they're unconscious, you can literally just push ahead and the rest of the body will go with it. It's like dead weight. You give the head enough of a push, enough energy to push the head out, body is going to flow with it. Falling out of a car does not necessarily mean that he jumped out either. Doesn't mean he was pushed out. But it doesn't rule it out. This is what, when you're understanding, you're trying to report on this information, you're at least giving those scenarios. Doesn't mean you're creating a new storyline. You're taking baseline information from the 911 call, and then you're saying, these are the possibilities. It's not implausible that someone could have pushed his head out, his body went with it. Him jumping out of a car doesn't seem like something that any person would logically do when the car is in motion at 25 miles an hour. Because you know that if you do that, you're going to automatically subject yourself to injury. Never mind the idea of another car coming along and actually hitting you. But that would have been instant, more simultaneous. It would not have been something that would have occurred 5 or 10 minutes later. She would not have been able to get to the Circle K if he just jumped out of a moving car at 25 miles per hour, knowing that there's another car that could be coming up the side of you in the second lane. She would have been able to see and hear right then him get hit by a car. Fell out of a car is the second version you hear in the 911 call. Once again, these versions are coming in the 911 call, not YouTubers.
Dispatch that he fell out of a vehicle. And why did the story change so quickly? Because it was about to change. Again, emergency responders are on scene. Tyrone is unconscious, bleeding, severe head trauma. And then his girlfriend arrives. Listen to what the dispatcher says next.
His girlfriend here on scene for him, and she advised that about 5 minutes ago he got out of the car and started walking, so we're still working on that.
Let me make sure you caught that.
She got out of the car.
Tyrone wasn't hit by a car. He didn't fall out of a moving vehicle. He simply got out and walked away. But here's the critical question. If he just got out and walked, how did he end up with severe blunt force trauma to the skull? Walking doesn't cause skull fractures.
Right.
Walking doesn't cause brain trauma.
Nope.
Walking doesn't leave you dying in the road. But it gets worse. His cousin Natalie Davis told reporters, his girlfriend didn't call 911. She wasn't with him when he was found. She didn't notify anyone about the accident until the next day. Think about that. If you were with someone and they got out of the car and started walking, and then something happened to them, wouldn't you call 911? Wouldn't you stay with them? Wouldn't you try to help? But Lulu did not call 911. Lulu was not present when Tyrone was found. Lulu did not notify the family for 24 hours. And Tyrone was at
24, and get this, 24 hours, and he's in the hospital. She claims that it was only like 5 or 10 minutes between him, meeting the street and her circling back to see that there are paramedics back there. While her vantage point from the Circle K would have allowed her to see exactly what was happening at the bypass. Because that's on Google Maps. But yet, she waited a full 24 hours before saying a word. And her and this, family close friend, Jason, were at the hospital because she never ever mentions the family being there. No, her and Jason are trying to have him transferred to another hospital during this time frame. See, once again, Jason, what would the hospital security camera footage show? Because I think it would show you walking in with Kiara, with the girlfriend, with Lulu. I don't think it would show you walking in with the mother. This is why, Kiara, I keep saying that you're an idiot. Your posts tell on you. You didn't mention at all the family were there. And you go out of your way to try to clarify details that are mundane. Almost irrelevant. The fact that you make it a consistent pattern to mention the family members if they're there or relevant to the statement goes to show that you not saying that the family was there when you and this family close friend, one of his best friends, that being Jason, were there trying to have him transferred to another hospital. Here's my question to Lulu and to Jason. How the hell did you two think that was going to go? Neither of you is spouse or dependent or parent or a doctor. How did you think it was going to go with him being transferred to another hospital? How did you think in your mind that was going to span out? I mean, I understand neither of you understand these protocols on how a patient is transferred like this, but how did you possibly think that was going to go? You all sat down there for 24 hours and said nothing to no one. Jason has already told on himself. You see, Jamar, Looney, this is why you should sit down and question him a little bit more. You talk about you don't want to interrogate him. Why the hell not? What do you have to possibly lose? When he already withheld the fact that he was there and notified no one. For an entire month, he kept that information to himself. While they were trying to have Tyrone Jr. moved to another hospital as if it's something they could possibly do. All these various versions, so far we're getting from 911 calls and witnesses. And from the girlfriend. These are not coming from YouTubers. Stop attacking YouTubers for spreading the information and trying to make sense of it. Because I have yet to see the family members put out simulations of how this accident could have occurred by him being hit with a car. More than likely not even plausible. So don't attack YouTubers trying to actually piece it together to at least bring some sense to this, some logic to this. And so far, 4 different versions, The actual damage done to the human body that could not have possibly been done just by him being hit by a car. No evidence of that either. Make this make sense. Don't attack the YouTubers for doing this.
Admitted to the hospital as a John Doe. And there's one more detail from the 911 audio that shows just how confused everyone was. The dispatcher says, "We're not sure if it's a signal 4, which is an accident, or if he had a signal 31, which is a medical emergency, and he was just falling on the road. So we're still working on that." Even the dispatchers couldn't figure out what happened because the stories weren't matching up from the very beginning.
Not at all.
So that's story number 3. He got out and started walking. The source is Lulu, the girlfriend. The implication is that he voluntarily exited the vehicle. No accident, no fall, no impact. But this does not explain fatal head trauma. Days pass. Tyrone Davis Jr. dies in the hospital. His family demands answers. And finally, the Gainesville Police Department releases their official conclusion. According to detectives, they have a lot of evidence and information, and they're calling Davis's death tragic, but not suspicious. Not suspicious. And the fourth and final story emerges. The Gainesville Police Department has also...
So the incompetent pricks couldn't even tell the family that traffic camera lights work 24/7. They record continuously. You also aid in getting, those still images and footages that you see in Google Maps. Like, you can't make this stuff up.
Called Davis's death a slip and fall accident. Slip and fall. No sedan. No falling out of a
slipped
car.
And fell.
No walking away
Jesus
during an argument.
Christ.
Just slipped and fell. Under a bridge, in the middle of the road, with fatal blunt force trauma to the back of his skull. So now we have 4 stories. Let me lay them out side by side.
Yeah, the 4 stories that did not come from YouTubers. 3 of these came from the 911 calls themselves. And 2 out of the 4 came straight from the girlfriend from Lulu. Carol. You put no thought into any of this nonsense at all. Criminals are so dumb.
Story number 1 from the 9/11 witness. Hit by a sedan. This means an unknown driver is responsible. Story number 2
Yeah, why
from
is that not
EMS
being
and
investigated
dispatch.
hit and run?
Fell out of a moving vehicle. This means Tyrone is responsible for his own injury. Story number 3
fell out
from
doesn't mean
Lulu,
he's
the
responsible.
girlfriend. He got out and walked away. This means it was Tyrone's choice. Story number 4 from the Gainesville police. Slip and fall accident. This means no one is responsible. It was just an accident. 4 stories. And notice something? Every single version conveniently removes blame from one person. Lulu. Hit by a random sedan? Not her fault. Fell out on his own? Not her fault. Walked away voluntarily? Not her fault. Slipped and fell? Not her fault. But here's where all 4 stories fall apart. The medical evidence.
Hey, 5273, still there? Yeah, I was just about to raise you two. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm looking at the call notes. Is it going to be last name Davis? That's 10-4, Tyrone Davis.
You're watching.
Okay. So I got that info. What were you going to raise me for? I was going to ask you if the front desk unit to handle it, but you already got it. Okay. LC 2714? 04. Maria 2714.
If he was hit by a sedan, you would expect multiple impact injuries, road rash, and broken bones.
Yep.
Maybe consistent, maybe not. If he fell from a moving car, you would expect road rash, scrapes, and rolling injuries.
Yep.
Maybe consistent, maybe not. If he got out and walked, you would expect no injuries from this action. This is not consistent with his injuries. If he slipped and fell, you would expect bruising and possibly minor fractures. This is not consistent with his injuries. Hospital staff told the family the injuries were not consistent with falling.
And here's the thing. Hospital staff, of course, you don't even need to do a full exam to be able to put that 2 and 2 together. But I'm so glad they corroborated it. Where exactly would he have fallen underneath that bypass? And I want to know the exact spot for him to fall and cause that injury to the back of his skull. See, our fight or flight response is very powerful. We bless God for the way that we were created and designed to help sustain ourselves. What we're not going to allow to happen is we just slip and fall unless we completely blacked out and passed out. We have no control of our bodies to the point where the injury is so severe to the back of the skull from just a slip and fall. We're going to land on our arms, our elbows, or shoulder, or something. If you fall, the first thing you're going to do is try to brace yourself for impact. That's your body's way of trying to protect itself from any more severe injury. So a scrape or a bruise or scratch, to be expected. You slip and fall and you literally land only on the back of your head to cause that blunt force trauma and no other injury at all? That is not likely. Your own body's reflex fight or flight response is not going to allow that type of injury to even occur. You would rather land on your knees before you land on the back of your head. Your body is going to ensure that. It's almost innate that you're going to catch yourself if you slip and fall. Unless you pass out and you're unconscious and you're unaware, you're not able to control your fall. Most times we are able to control the impact we make to the ground. How do you say that he slipped and fell and hit the back of his head? It's so stupid. Kira, you're one dumb idiot.
Not consistent with being pushed. Not consistent with anything involving a moving vehicle.
Not at all.
So what does cause a skull fracture with blunt force trauma to the back of the head? Being struck with something or by someone. January 17th, 2026. Dozens gathered at the exact spot where Tyrone was found. The Archer Road I-75 underpass. The family wasn't asking for revenge. They were asking for something simple. Natasha Davis, Tyrone's aunt, spoke to the crowd. We're not getting answers.
We're not getting answers. We got lies and more lies, 3 different stories. So we're here today because we want to take a stand. We want to fight for what happened to him. We didn't accuse, we asked for answers, but because of the lies, we feel like it was a murder.
His father, Tyrone Davis Sr., spoke quietly but emotionally.
Not just because of the lies, because of the fact that Kiera sat at that hospital for 24 hours and her and Jason told no one. The mother picked me up. Okay, that could have very well happened. He could have very well been at the hospital, went back home, the mother called him and picked him back up. Do you see the plausibility in this? Because why would the girlfriend put up a post to say that her and one of his close friends that was at the hospital were the ones trying to have him transferred to another hospital, but not the family? Didn't mention the family at all. What do you mean? God, if you only knew how difficult that would be for any doctor to fulfill that request, you would understand how silly it sounds for her to say her and another friend are trying to have him moved to another hospital. You can't make this up.
He didn't deserve this.
Justice for Joe. We know he didn't jump out no car.
Right.
I'm not asking for no GoFundMe, no money, no nothing. I just want candles.
Why would she sit 24 hours in the hospital?
As a father, what more can you ask? The family launched a petition that gathered over 3,000 signatures. They're calling for 3 things. First, a thorough investigation. They want this treated as a suspicious death with a full forensic investigation. Second, accountability. They want a transparent review of the timeline and the statements provided by the individual who was with him. Third, justice. They want the truth behind the blunt force trauma that took Tyrone's life. And what about Lulu? Through a friend, she released a statement. She said, "This has been the most heartbreaking thing that I've ever been through. It has been extremely difficult, overwhelming, confusing, and emotional dealing with everything that came from the situation, while trying to grieve the love of my life and process him."
Yeah, because it's all about her. You know, she's such a narcissist. Kiera, this is not about you. I personally could care less about how you feel. Especially when you sat at that hospital for 24 hours and said nothing to no one. As if you could not have used a phone to make a call. You can't make this up. At the very least, you could have asked, "Hey, my phone died. Can I use somebody's charger?" I don't understand. Why not just give up your phone to the detectives so that they can run forensics on your phone and get the data? To include whether or not your phone was dead for 24 hours. I mean, at the very least, explain why you sat 24 hours and called no one. Why didn't you tell anybody anything for 24 hours? What the hell were you doing? You took time to eat and use the bathroom, I'm sure. You sat 24 hours at that hospital and said nothing to no one. What kind of nonsense is that? Not one text out to his mother? What would the data show in your phone? They had to do a forensics of your phone. And don't think deleting something means that it's permanently deleted. No. Forensic specialists can get that data back retrieved if they need to. You're not that smart. Why would you sit there for 24 hours and not notify anybody? Who told you transfer him to a different hospital would actually be the solution? How did you think that was possibly going to go again? You can't make this up. And she puts up a post where, as the typical narcissist, she talks about herself.
Not being here with me anymore.
Ugh.
We were nothing short of inseparable. I would never do anything to harm him or would want him to lose his life. I have lost a major part of me.
You
Losing
can't make
him.
this up. Never mind the
family's
kids.
response was clear. If she's innocent, why won't the stories match? Why won't anyone tell the truth? 4 official explanations. Not one of them matches the others. Not one of them fully explains how Tyrone ended up with fatal head trauma. The first caller said hit by a sedan. Dispatch said fell out of a car. Lulu said he walked away. Police said slip and fall. You know what all 4 of those stories have in common? They all conveniently remove blame from one person, Lulu. Hit by a random sedan? Not her fault. Fell out on his own? Not her fault. Walked away voluntarily? Not her fault. Slipped and fell? Not her fault. But here's what the stories can't explain. Why did witnesses say the scene looked staged? Why was she driving the wrong direction? Why did she show no concern when she arrived? And why did hospital staff say his injuries were not consistent with any of these explanations? 4 stories, 0 answers, one family still demanding the truth. Someone is lying. And the 911 audio just proved it.
Yep. Listen, the hospital staff are going to tell you exactly what's going on because science is going to line up with it. The medical examination, the autopsy report. They're going to have the actual evidence they need to line up with what they're saying. Why would the police say that he died from a slip and fall? What do they have to gain out of lying that bad over something where you have no evidence to corroborate it? It's so dumb. I hope the family fights to have this pushed up. Alert the captain of the police, or the chief of the police. Remind him that his police officers are incompetent as hell. And then request for this, to be looked at by the Florida Bureau of Investigation. Because honestly, if Gainesville Police Department are going to continue to just ignore this and then say, hey, we're investigating it, but we've already reached a conclusion. How much energy do you really think they're putting into this? Once again, these 4 versions did not come from YouTubers. 2 of them came from the girlfriend, who's an idiot. The other 2 came from witnesses that made 911 calls. All 4 of these versions, though, have come from sources that are not from content creators. We're just reporting what we're hearing, what we're observing. Shout out to Shanitra Speaks for getting the 911 call. I'm so glad you got it. No one wants to concoct and create stories out of nowhere about what happened to this young man. You're talking about the loss of someone's life. What should be put out there is explain the physics behind someone getting hit by a car. And the only injury is to the back of the head. I've given you all of these 2 videos of how that is not plausible. You can't make this up. This is unfortunate in every aspect of the word. The girlfriend still has not explained why she sat at the hospital for 24 hours and said nothing to no one. Jason still needs to explain himself as to why he was advocating for Tyrone Jr. to be transferred to another hospital. Why would he advocate for that? If you don't understand his injuries, you don't understand what's going on. No one told you anything. You still happen to show up with the mother, hypothetically, as you allege. Why would you be advocating for him to be transferred to another hospital? What would be the purpose of that? This type of injury, that's not something, let me get a second opinion. So why the push to have him transferred to another hospital? What sense would that make? Neither of you thunkheads thought to reach out to either of the family. For 24 hours, Lulu set her ass in that hospital. And then all of a sudden, people show up. Let me go get my stuff from a cabin to which I had already checked out from. And then never come back. And Jason claims he didn't speak with her. Can't make this up. And no one wants to question him. You can't. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Either way, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have learned something. I try to be insightful as I can. I brought you all case law. I brought you all 4 other cases where it is very possible for the girlfriend to have an affair with the best friend. And they concoct some plan to have him unalived and have money involved as one of the main motivators. The idea of him having an affair with Lulu is not implausible. It's not unthinkable. And if you continue to restrict the information that you're getting, as opposed to just, let me get some evidence to corroborate this. Let me do my own questioning and figure out what's going on here. Or just pay attention to the way they're moving, the way they're acting, with what they're saying, the information they're posting, the responses they're giving, their alibis. Pay attention to it. They're going to slip up, and it's going to be so obvious. I'll wait for the rest of you all to catch up. Because this is crazy. The police aren't helping at all, because they're lying like hell about how traffic camera lights work. You can't make that up. But at the end of the day, Lulu, you sat at that hospital and you said nothing for 24 hours. in your way out of this, let me try to get him transferred to another hospital. Because I don't like what the hospital staff have told me. Because the hospital staff told her there's no way he incurred that type of injury because he slipped and fell. Are you all catching up to what I'm putting down? Sometimes it's best to interrogate and ask questions than to walk around in a state of confusion and then blaming various scenarios on YouTubers when it all came from 911 calls and the girlfriend. Lulu, you know you didn't like what the medical staff told you. The police, yeah, they said what you wanted them to say. But the hospital staff didn't. You didn't like it. Well, you know what? I'm going to have him transfer somewhere else. What is that going to do? Because see, here's the thing. That hospital does not work for you, Lulu. They don't work for you. We don't care if you didn't like what they said. What they said was the truth. Because they have a medical examination. They have people who actually went to medical school. That did an examination. That made the determination. They have documentation and evidence to support what they're saying about how there's no way he just slipped and fell and it created this gash on the back of his head. Blunt force trauma to the back of the head. Nope. Not from a slip and fall. See, you didn't like what the hospital told you and you wanted him to be transferred, hoping that your little BS would work on another hospital. It wouldn't. Criminals are stupid. Keep that in mind. Pay attention to what she says and post up. Pay attention. All right, y'all. Hit the like button. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And leave comments and thoughts below. And share this information. Check out the other cases on Law and Crime Network. The other videos that we checked out. You guys can see this information out there to help you understand a little bit better as to, you know, the buffoonery that's coming out of the girlfriend's mouth. And Jason, at some point, you're going to have to just go and give your statement over to the detectives. You need to do it. Because you know you messed up. Either way, this is all I have, Lady Luck Club out. Until the next one. Deuces.